Welcome back. Welcome. This is Jeremiah. We had a quick lesson on wisdom here for you. We're going to get into 6A 2024. I want to talk about wisdom in a 30-minute video or so. As we start shortening our videos, I promised, for those of you who have been following along, I promised that we would have very short videos here. And it took longer than I wanted, than I planned, because we just had so much heavy-duty groundwork here. And I'm happy to announce that we're basically done. We're basically done with a lot of introduction, with a lot of groundwork, the first floor of the Empire State Building here. We're just about done with a lot of heavy lifting here. We're ready to start really going. I'm going to start going light here. Many of you should have gotten a good foundation here. We still need a little more tweaking. I just gave a lesson on sound doctrine, and I'm very happy with it. I want to do a little bit more tweaking on 2A, which is sound doctrine, okay? A little more refining here, but I am happy with it. I see a lot of progress with sound doctrine in giving you the basics. Now, sound doctrine goes into living bread, and it has to. Now, I have another sound doctrine lesson here where I basically just give you what those terms mean, which is fine. But the one I just put up gets a little deep. It's like 2A going into 2.1. In other words, it's beginner, and there's a lot of intermediate there also. Sometimes I will give a concept to you, and it will have introductory aspects, but it will also have intermediate aspects, even sometimes some advanced. In other words, a precocious presentation. So that's fine. There's nothing wrong with sometimes giving you things that you don't understand, because you'll get it later on. That's why. I guess the word is gleaning, or something along those lines, or the concept of gestalt, or I don't get it right now, but teach it to me anyway, I'll get it tomorrow. I'll have an aha moment, as they say, where I heard it, I didn't get it, but now I got it. There's different ways of teaching, and we're not here to necessarily say this way is better and so forth. However, as many of you know, I do like the standard procedure here as a Bible teacher of giving you an introductory lesson, and then for you to sit on it and take your time. You don't have to learn every algebra problem in 5 minutes. However, sometimes giving you a lot of work is good, because you're going to learn faster, and you're going to have an aha moment that you wouldn't have had if we hadn't pushed you a little. So there's different ways of looking at learning, but right now my main focus is very abecedarian, 1, then 2, then 3. Got that? Let's go as we have a quick lesson here on wisdom, which will be 6A 2024. You ready? Now, I have about 30 points of wisdom or more. We'll probably focus on about 9, and I'm going to shut down. Okay? In other words, the wisdom just continues to build. I also have some examples from Solomon and the Master, the great-grandfather of the one that you love with all of your heart, soul, mind, and strength here. The great-grandfather, we spend a lot of time here on wisdom. When we study wisdom pertaining to the book of Proverbs, okay? But it doesn't mean that we don't bounce around. There's wisdom all replete throughout your entire Bible. But just to get Proverbs out of the way, so to speak, I'm going to focus on Proverbs quite a bit when we go to number 6, so we can get through that book. Okay? I don't mean an exhaustive. I mean a peak. Let's put it that way. We're going to spend a little time, but we're not going to go over every subject in the book of Proverbs. Okay? We will focus on a lot of the heavy hitters, especially those that relate to the master, the great grandson of Mr. Solomon. Okay? Let's get into Wisdom 6a. You ready to go? This is Jeremiah with New Covenant. We're rejoicing together with you in the coming of our Lord. We just looked at Timothy talking about, Paul talking to Timothy about loving his appearing, and that's what we do here. To all those who love his appearing, who also love his appearing. So that's what we're doing here. Every day we have a Bible lesson here of some sort. Now, I'm going to start having a lot of lessons by myself, and I'm not going to have that many for you pretty soon, because we're going to reduce the volume of videos here. I don't want that many. So I won't go into that, but administrative ponderings of my own, okay? Jeremiah, are you on fire? We do everything in one name, Jeremiah? That is correct. Colossians 3:17 and Acts chapter 4, we do everything in one name here. There are no other names. Now you can go to the Old Testament and look at some of the alphabetical observations, which is YH, or they add YAH, or you can add YEH, because there's no vowels in the original Hebrew per se. So you can go all over the place with names and whatever. However, for the Christian church, for a very simple grammar, we have one name given, and that's Jesus. We do everything in that name. And there's one name given amongst men. That's it. Whereby you must be saved. One name. Do everything in that name. Well, that's number 10 in this ministry. I just took a look at that. I might clean that up a little bit for my final 2024 view, as I give you an update on number 10, okay? We're just about done giving an update over the first 31 flavors here of 76 trombones, or 76 playlists here, or subjects that are available for you, which should be available for you at the end of the year, pretty much, okay? Of 2024. I'm very excited about getting the first lesson out of all 31. After 31 on my playlist, they're very simple presentations, pretty much. I jumped to 69 because I thought 69 was really important here. It's a beautiful lesson, the Pearl's Delight, okay? But as far as all these numbers go, as far as these early playlists, they're going to take a lot of time here. That's what's gobbling my time this year, and it's really gobbling things up, because we're just about done. When we get to books and grand slams here, two other aspects of this ministry, I'm very happy with it. It's coming along fine. We're up to Matthew 10 pretty much for grand slams. We finished Psalm 1 through 16. The book of Revelation is just about done for grand slams, and it's just about we've completed just about the entire book of Revelation, except a little bit more on grand slams. Maybe there's going to be more work than I planned, so I'm a little frustrated, but that's okay, because I like to get things done that I plan to do. Like some of you out there, you plan things, you want them to get done. As my buddy Danny used to say, the math genius friend of mine, Danny! My old buddy Danny, I haven't seen in a while. He's actually a real math genius. But Danny, he used to always say, "Get it done!" We used to play basketball. I don't think either one of us were very good. I don't think either one of us were very good basketball players. But here we go. What is wisdom, Jeremiah? What you want to give a lesson on wisdom and quit beating around the bush here? No, I just wanted to mention how we have progress in some areas, and we're a little frustrated here and there, but we're not going to get into that. Let's get right into wisdom, okay? What is wisdom, Jeremiah? As you listen to the voice of who? My sheep, they hear my voice. They don't know the voice of a stranger. We're sitting here all day, basically every day, sitting here, Lord, Master, what is thy bidding? We serve him day and night. Right? We just read that beautiful scripture, daughter, thy faith has made thee whole. One of the most beautiful things that ever happened to a human being is for Jesus Christ to call you daughter, a daughter of heaven or something. There's nothing better for you that I can think of, or son of the highest or something. That's your goal here, is to be a successful lover of Jesus Christ. Anticipating being with the one that you love and talking about that pretty much most of the time. That's what we do here. We start out with, I love you, Jesus, just about every video. I love you, Jesus. We stop and we think. Basically, in front of most of these videos, where we talk about, in 2024 now, just I love Jesus, and stop and think about it for a while before we get into the wisdom lesson. It's right here. We're going to get into a few points on wisdom, okay? I have about 30 main points now that I've decided to give, and chapter 1 of Solomon's book of Proverbs is done. I think I'm done with that chapter, and we got 20-something or 30 chapters more left. I forgot how many we have left to review, but we're going to add those chapters to the wisdom lesson, and I'm very happy with that, and we will not go back to Proverbs probably for a couple of years. I don't know, we might wait to finish Proverbs all the way to the March of 2025, but wherever we go, once we get done, we're going to be moving on to Exodus or something else, and we'll have a review available for you of the entire book of Proverbs, and we might even add Ecclesiastes. But the point is that they will be available for you in a quick review, and let me share it before we move on. This ministry likes to give you quick reviews over a lot of biblical information, but not exhaustive. We're not here to go over everything, but we are here to go over all the things that are required of you. Do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly before your God. We will definitely hammer those home, such as repentance and baptism, such as enough and sufficient, such as saving faith. All these very important scriptures is what this ministry is about. If I was a Bible teacher or a pastor, and I had a young man or a person, a child, for 40 years, as Pastor Tom, who just passed away here, my buddy used to live right around the corner here in Indiana, and I'm showing you Indiana right now, what happens after a harvest here. I want to talk about that for a moment, but Pastor Tom, he had responsibility of people over a long period of time. He's from Kentucky. He moved to Indiana, and that's where my dad is from, my earth father. I have a strong Kentucky connection for people who have been very close to me in my life. Kentucky Wildcats. But Pastor Tom, he would mention every now and then, and I saw this in pastors, they have to deal with people over a long period of time. They have a lot of time to teach things to one person that comes on a regular basis to a church. This is a catch-up ministry where we focus on teaching heavy and cramming a lot of knowledge and making you an instant pudding kind of thing. We're getting everything done quick here. We're cramming. It's a little uncomfortable at times, but it still needs to be done because we're at the end times. We have converts out there who need to squeeze. You know, you need to really get the ball rolling. Turn the social media off. Turn the entertainment off. Pretty much 90%. You got to get, you know, and that's what's happening here. It's very simple. It's not a. Some people are going to use this as an auxiliary or an addendum or something. However, the point here is that we're also here for people who want to do a lot of cramming and learn a lot in a short amount of time. That's really kind of what I want to have available here for you. Now, I have the academic ability to do that, and God's going to use me, and we're happy to be used of the Lord. It's a privilege. It's a privilege to basically kind of deny ourselves of things we could be doing for the pleasure of Father, which is for the pleasure of binding up and healing the brokenhearted, and bringing intellectualism to people who don't have any intellectualism. And it squeezes a little, but that's the way it's going to be, and I'm very happy to be a squeezer. You know, I'm very happy to be someone who has teaching experience in general education here in the United States, and to use those skills a little and squeeze and present and educate in a rapid fashion. Rapido. Andale. Arriba. Let's arrive. Let's go. Let's get there. I'm pretty sure the word arriba is kind of like original Latin, which is probably comes from some Greek word or something, because all these languages tie back to Hebrew, as many of you know. Let's get some Hebrew going now. Wisdom. Are you ready? Proverbs. As I give you just a quick peek as to what's going on around here, and how we're just excited here about all of these things that are going on. And another quick peek as to the personality of this ministry and the reason why it's kind of accelerated. And some of you are going to have to probably go to the rewind. We used to rewind a lot when I was growing up. We didn't have digital move here and click here. You had to sit and listen, and while the tape rewind, we had to rewind the tape. That goes from reel to reel. The only thing that you could move ahead was to move a needle on a record player, or you could use an 8-track tape. The 8-track tapes were pretty cool. Even to this day, an 8-track tape is actually, on a very practical level, a very interesting music player, because you can bounce around quick. All you do is hit a button on your car stereo, bang, and then move to another section of the album. Eight-track tape. That was a pretty cool invention. I could probably use one of those now. Everything old is not bad. As a matter of fact, the most expensive stereo in the world, getting on music before we get into wisdom, the most expensive stereo in the world that's supposed to have the best sound is a record player, in case you didn't know that. Everything old's no good. No, you better watch yourself with all that. I get that on TV all the time, the computer, you know. It's new, it's better. No, wrong answer. The best microphone in the history of all microphones was made by Neiman Marcus, I think. Who made that microphone? I think that was them. And they made it in 1940. In the 40s, and they quit making microphones. And those are the best microphones ever made. Those guys knew how to make microphones better than all the new ones I hear. When I was working in Hollywood, I used to work with some heavy-duty people. I never became any kind of heavy-duty guy. I was kind of hanging around, and I met some very talented people in Hollywood, of course. But the microphone, the most expensive microphone, was made in 1940. I think that costs $50,000 now or something in Capitol Records. That's the only microphone they use, I hear. Oh, everything new is better. No, that's in your mind. Everything new is better. Christianity's old, so it can't be that good. Okay, well, there you go. See? You start believing that it's new over there, man. Yeah, Euro design. No. This Bible is old, but it is happening. A lot of times you see on these commercials on TV, they go, "Oh, this is an old-fashioned made pie." Well, that's probably the one you want. That's okay. Quit knocking old-fashioned out there. I remember my Earth Father used to tease me some. He would ask me, my dad, he would ask me about things pertaining to. I like to watch classic movies. He said, "Well, you're staying in the past too long, son," or something. I go, "Dad, don't worry about it. Your daddy loves you, and he's worried about you getting into the past too much and becoming a psychological misfit or something." He said, "No, my mind is perfectly fine watching old classic movies and watching men be men and women wear women's clothing. There's nothing wrong with that." Let's go, Jeremiah, with wisdom. You ready to go? Okay, we have Proverbs open here. Let's have a quick lesson on wisdom, and let's get going. Now, Paul, let's leave Paul alone. Let's go straight to the word wisdom, and let's break it down. Wisdom, which is number 6 in this ministry, on the playlist, where if you want to learn a little bit about wisdom, I'm going to give you a lot of basics, okay? All you got to do is hit number 6 playlist, and we're on 6A, which is an introduction. Now I have various introductions and lessons on wisdom. 6A, or the letter A, usually refers to an introduction. Sometimes the introduction gets a little heavy. Sometimes, so there's a lot of flux there, and I apologize, but it's just part of the way things go. One of the best rules of thumb, the best things to do is to take your time and do one short lesson and then shut down. One of the problems with getting too much information is people just get confused and nobody learns anything. As an ex-instructor of human beings of K through 12, and also in aerospace industry, teaching a little bit, I learned that one of the best things to do is take your time. Don't be afraid to take your time. As Pastor Kay used to say, I used to hang out with him in the hood there on 92nd, 91st and Western. Deep in the hood, he was a Bible teacher. He had like 3 jobs. What a brilliant man. But he used to say, put a nail in a sure place. So that's what we're talking about, okay? A nail in a sure place. And before we get to wisdom, let's talk about a little wisdom, boots on the ground. American kind of wisdom or something here. But one of the best things to do, and let's talk about you young people for a moment, before we get into the lesson, germane. You young people out there, one thing that you need to really seriously think about is toning your life down and starting to thank God for very simple things like dinner, a bed, sleep, tomorrow coming to you. No matter what happens to you, even if you're a Republican MAGA person and the Bidens arrested you and put you in jail or whatever persecution a Christian might face, which is a sad commentary on America, of course, right now. We're not necessarily MAGA people, but people who want things to be righteous who get locked up, that's persecuting the righteous. But for those of you out there, I want to remind you that nobody can take your tomorrow away from you. Especially you Christian people listening to me right now. No one can take you. The Bible says that no one can separate you from the love of God. Nobody. You don't have to be empty-hearted. Let's talk about that for a moment. The worst state to be in is to have an empty heart. You can have an empty pocketbook, but if you have an empty heart, that's just no good. There are a lot of people who are kings and rich, but they have no one to share their riches with. Riches are based upon your heart condition. We used to have let me give you a quick story. We used to have a house. The house next door to us, or the house next door. They had some of these people who obviously came here as illegal aliens, and or migrants. I guess you could call them both, but or migrants if you want to look at it euphemistically, maybe. But from a nice perspective, I've had illegal friends in college who came here illegally. They should have been kicked out of here technically, but I didn't say anything. What's my point? My point is we had a family next to us. There must have been 500 people in that house, and it's only a 2 or 3 bedroom. I'm exaggerating. There are a lot of people in that house. They obviously crossed the border. They got a house, and they just brought everybody in. There must have been 100 people in that house, and yet you never heard them arguing, and they were always laughing and having parties in the backyard. What's the point? The point is that joy is not necessarily based upon your financial status. As a matter of fact, having a lot of money and a lot of material things, you can find yourself in an empty castle looking at the horizon by yourself. I went into one of the most beautiful homes in the history of mankind here. I used to deliver to, what was that? That was Torrance, Redondo Beach, Pacific Palisades over there, in those areas near the beach there, up and down Pacific Coast Highway. And there was a man who had a house, one of the most amazing homes I've ever seen. He had like a 2-story garage. His house had a view of the entire Pacific Ocean there. And I went into his house, and his living room and his kitchen had a view of the ocean. And I looked at him, and I delivered his package. He said, "Come on in." And so I delivered his package, and I said, "Wow, this is a very beautiful house." And he said, "Thank you." And I said, "This is amazing." And I walked out because that was a delivery. Sometimes when you deliver as a courier, you can go in the business or in a home, but I guess he was offering me some water, I forgot. And I was driving an old, rugged RX-7, which really can hug the corners and get to where you want to go. But I was driving the old, beat-up RX-7, and I got to travel to a lot of places. I went to Frank Sinatra's daughter's house quite a few times. I went to his office a lot, and they used to get mad at me because I used to sing going in there crooner music. Hey, you know. That was fun. That was funny. But I travel all over Southern California. I know where everything is just about. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the trees and the beach, and that home was very fascinating. I want to make a point. That man was standing there by himself with some sort of portfolio in his hand or something. And one of the first thoughts that came to me was, this guy is probably lonely, because if he meets a woman, or she'll probably want him for the money or the view, and she may not want him. Well, here's my point. A lot of people think that everything is simple and having lots of money, whatever, is the way to go. That's not necessarily wisdom. Wisdom is for you to be happy where you are and to learn that whether you have a lot or a little, God's going to give you gladness. And that's what I want to talk about right now, is gladness, okay? We had that song that Brother Baldwin used to like to sing, who passed away a couple of years ago. He has made me glad. I thank my God, for he has made me glad. Those people were packed into that house like sardines. We never heard a fight. We never heard an argument. There was never any police. There was never anything. But the people across the street who are Americans, be they black or white or whatever, who are a little on the spoiled side, they have the police come over because there's an argument over money a lot or something, right? You know, and that's, you know, people who are just different than people who appreciate life without making requirements on everybody around them. That's wisdom. You know, the family I was with, we had a lot of arguments off and on, but the people next door, they had more satisfaction within their soul. They had soul satisfaction. They had love satisfaction. And a lot of people who lived around them, they didn't have it. Well, they had more room, they had more material things, but yet the people who were squeezed had more peace. That's the point. It's kind of like to talk to some of you young people before we get to the lesson here. It's kind of like some of you young people could listen to some of these old stories or old parables. You know, when I was growing up, our family became poor because we had a lot of children in the family, but when I was young, we were close to middle class. But as time went on, prices went up in America, and by the time I was 17, prices went up pretty high, and my dad told me that the government basically and the corporations are basically coming after big families. My dad didn't talk very much, but when he said something, it was usually very significant. And the thing is that what he said was that the new economy was really coming after his big family with deductions and taxes, etc. And we started to become poor. And in a way it was good. Let me tell you why it was good. Because, let me give you a story. There are two kids just graduated high school in Beverly Hills. One of them got a Rolls Royce worth $150,000. The other one in the same high school got a $40,000 Benz, which is a bottom line. Let's say 1972. That's a very expensive Benz at that time. 1965 or something. You got the top of the line Benz. But you were angry at your parents because your buddy in school got a $150,000 car. This is what happens to people because there is no peace for the wicked. When God's love comes into your heart, you become satisfied with love, and whatever you get, you're very happy with, because love is always happy. Love can't complain about not having what Billy has across the street. It can't do that. Corinthians, love never loses. I've never lost anything when I have God's love in my heart. I've never lost squat. Somebody might steal my car, the house might burn down in a tornado here, but all I'll do is sit there and go, well, there it goes. God's love didn't go anywhere. And no one can separate me from being with Father for eternity. And that's what we teach here. That's one of the mainstays here for those of you who are going to listen, who has an ear to hear. That's what we teach here, and that's real wisdom, boots on the ground, is learning to be satisfied. And, for instance, if I was 18, 19, and my dad gave me a Rolls Royce or a Mercedes Benz worth $30,000 at that time, or a $40,000 car, I would have jumped through the roof. I would have shined that car till it was spit shine. You would not have heard one complaint out of me because the guy around the corner has a Rolls Royce. He can keep it. I got something nice over here. That's one of the beautiful things about Christianity. That's why our Master said that you love with all of your heart, soul, mind, and strength. That's why he said you will have peace amongst yourselves. How do we have peace amongst ourselves? By people who have the love of Jesus in them, who don't want to complain about really anything, and whatever problem they have, they're going to face it with love, and they're going to be positive. It's very difficult to be happy if you're not positive. Love believes all things. So when things are difficult, I'm sitting here believing and having the love of God in my heart. And that means that I'm wise. I don't see things as permanently detrimental. All things are going to work together for good. Let's go to our second video on wisdom. No, it's gotten too late. I'm going to shut down. Tomorrow, on my time frame, I'm going to get into wisdom germane. And before I shut down, let me give you a tease as to what we're going to do tomorrow, or in the next video. This will be 6A, Part 1, Wisdom 2024, which means it's the 6th category of the playlist. It is an introductory level lesson on wisdom, and that'll be 2024, which will be the latest version. Okay, that's what that means. It's very simple. Now, I gave a long introduction, getting into some boots on the ground wisdom. Sometimes we talk to the young people out there and give them some wisdom that's very simple, that's very profound. Such as satisfaction is the key. They had a famous rock song here that went platinum, I think, in the United States called "I Can't Get No Satisfaction." And the reason why that song became a platinum song is because people can't find satisfaction outside of Jesus Christ. You're playing a circus game. You don't have satisfaction. Because first of all, you don't have God's love deep in your heart, and that's where satisfaction starts. And also, pertaining to wisdom, if you have that deep love of God in your heart, guess what? You're not going to allow anything to bother you. Love casts away all problems. The deep love of Jesus and the intelligence of these scriptures is going to cast away all as you guard your heart and your mind. It's guarded, and no one's going to rob you of what you own. The gladness in your heart, under all circumstances, no one can remove that. Somebody smashed into my car here the other day. I've been driving millions of miles, it seems like, as a courier, as a non-emergency medical transportation driver, going to and from work for a long distance because I found a job that was far, far away there, and boy, I did a lot of driving, and the point is that I never really wanted to quit, or nothing ever got in. It let me think that things are going to not work out. Let's put it that way. Because the love of God should have brought in your hearts. Nothing can overwhelm you. Nothing can take you over. Nothing can remove your confidence and your persuasion that everything's going to be okay. No matter how big the giant is. It doesn't matter how big the giant is. Love believes all things. And love comes from the truth, and truth comes from you kneeling before the Lord Jesus Christ and confessing reality. You confess living bread, you eat living bread, then you have truth. Then truth makes love, and love is confidence, and because you put confidence in the truth. You put confidence in reality. You put confidence that you are a sinner. You put confidence that Jesus is holy and the gospel is true. And this confidence that you put in reality is going to birth your love in your heart. That's how you get that love. You want to be a caring person and join the church. That's how you're going to get the love. You said, yes, Jesus, I want to be a caring person now. I want to be a person who loves people. I want to be a person who listens to the truth and says amen to the truth. And that's how you get the love. Or your commitment to wanting to be like Father. Yes, Father, I want to be like you. That's what repentance and baptism is. You're turning. It's called a turn. You're turning to a new life of love and care and truth, and all of a sudden, bang, you got love in your heart. And as long as you stick to the program and you want to hold on to the truth, you don't want to play games, you want to hold on to the truth you have, then you're going to be a winner. And everything you face and challenge, you're going to have the love of God in your heart now. And that means that you're going to have that love, and nothing can overwhelm you. Nothing. You're more than a conqueror. You're more than a big conqueror of Julius Caesar. You're more than a conqueror in Alexander the Great. You are more and much more of a conqueror than they are. Because everything that confronts you is going to fall down to the ground like these corn stalks here. Everything's going to fall down to the ground. And now you're a wise person. Because you saw reality, you saw the cross, you saw that somebody had to suffer for you, and you were moved by it, and you want to join the team of people who were moved by the removal of your sin. That somebody removed your sin, and all you have to do is go up to that cross and love that person if you want to do that. You have an option to walk up to that cross and love that person if you want to do it. That's why Jesus said, "Come unto me." That means you got to come, you got to go. That's why Jesus said, "You are unwilling to come unto me." So that's wisdom. Wisdom is for you to go ahead and go to the cross and see reality and confess science. That this person had to die for me, and they loved me, and I'm going to love them back. Whatever he wants me to do, he basically owns me because I was in jail. And he died on the cross so that I can get out of jail. So you got me out of jail, so now I want to do and please you for getting out of jail. And you're an easy person to please because you're love and you're truth. It's a win-win situation. I've turned my life over to serving Mr. Love, and that can't go wrong for you. Now, he may ask you to do some difficult things, but in the long run, he knows what he's doing, and you're going to end up smelling like a rose. And nothing was going to remove that confidence you have in that result of loving the Lord with all of your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And that's called wisdom. People who are unwise see the cross and they see the suffering of Jesus Christ and they say, I don't have love for this person, the Son of God, who is God and man. I don't have love for him. I don't want to love him. Even though he showed love for me and he's calling me to love him, I don't want to. I don't want to prioritize him. I don't want to listen to him. I don't want to please him. And that's what people do. That's called unwise. Because you're neglecting a salvation of you going to heaven. And why would you do that? All you got to do is be wise and agree with science. Science is you're a sinner and you deserve going downstairs because you have offended God and you've hurt people and you've lied and you've cheated. You've done something wrong. So consequently, God can't hang around you. God can't hang around people who have done anything wrong. It's kind of like having somebody come over your house who just, murdered someone. We won't go that far, but if somebody's knocking on your door and they go, "Hey, Jeremiah, I want to come over and have dinner." And they go, "Hey, what are you doing?" "Oh, I just came from, I just hurt some people badly. And I was laughing at them when I hurt them. I'm Genghis Khan. I want to come over and have dinner. But let's play chess." They say Genghis Khan or Kublai Khan, I forgot which one, he liked to play chess. So let's play chess with him, and he calls me his friend. Kublai Khan and Genghis Khan, the Khans are famous for wiping out entire cities of people, just slaughtering them. And coming home and saying, "This is the way the world is." I don't have any quotes from Kublai Khan or Genghis Khan. Sometimes they might be the same people. I don't know. You know, they sit there and have dinner. You know, they go, "Hey, what we did was just what we had to do, man. This is the way the world is." You know, that's the way they talk. I had a movie. I deleted the movie. I got rid of the movie. where an Englishman goes, he wants to explore the world, and he's very tired of being, a beaten down British citizen. That was about 1200 or 1300. When was Genghis Khan? Anyway, so he wanted to leave England. Prince John is putting him down because that's the Normans versus the Saxons, and all of this, and he wants to leave and he wants to go explore the world, and because some of his money has been taken by Prince John's family, who put him down. You're not a Saxon, you're not a Norman, you're not a French, whatever. And so he goes and I want to explore the world. So he goes over and he runs into Kublai Khan, and Khan is murdering thousands of people. He starts hanging around him, playing chess with him, but he wouldn't go kill anybody. He got ready to join one of the raids of some Chinese city, and then he came back home, and his buddy who went with him said, "I don't like this. This is not for Christian people." And then Khan started making fun of him, being a Christian, being too sensitive. What do you mean we can't murder? You're crazy, dude. This is the way the world is, and I beat women or whatever. These heathens, these barbarians, which is what he is. And so at the end of the movie, after they go home, now his buddy died, coming home or something, I forgot. And he brought a woman with him, who was one of Khan's girls. And so he comes back to Great Britain, and we're going to shut down now. He comes back to Great Britain, to London, wherever, and he's sitting there. He brings a lot of jewelry with him or something, so he's rich now or something, I forgot. And he brought some inventions back. He brought some spaghetti or whatever, like Marco Polo did. Who did exactly what his father told him to do, Marco Polo's father. But let's let that go. So he comes back, and he's doing well, and the Normans are happy with him, and his father, grandfather, and who also lost during the conquering of William the Conqueror or whatever, and all that Norman Saxon stuff. So he's got a lot of money, I guess, or whatever there, and so Khan sends him a letter of, "How are you doing, my brother?" Because they made some sort of bond. Hollywood made this movie. Now this is what I call pure trash. And let me tell you something. The point is that this is where Hollywood and where wisdom go out the window. Because they should have never made Khan a legitimate citizen of the world. Never. But yet in the movie they did. They never showed him slaughtering people, but they showed him coming back from slaughtering, and he's a brave man. He's a big man, He's macho, He is a Caesar, which is power. The Mars, the god of war. All this nonsense of heathens and non-believers in the Torah, in the law of Moses. Of thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not commit adultery. These are people who are contradicting it, so they're the world, they're the devil. So what did Hollywood do? They glorified basically a murderer, what they did. Now they didn't come straight out and say that we approve of Khan. One of the most torturous, brutal families in the history of the world. And so this English gentleman, he's happy to get a letter from this guy. He's like, "Oh, wow!" And he sends him some sort of memorabilia. See, this is where Hollywood and America started going down the toilet. When you open the door to these behaviors, it's going to cause a problem. There are ramifications for this. Not only to other people and the doctrine of the U.S. Constitution and Bible study for Americans, it's going to cause problems psychologically for everyone who gets involved in this. America became unwise in Hollywood, big time. They should have never put that guy in any favorable light at all. Now, if they wanted to give us some history, a lot of brutal history, that's fine. We're open to learning a little bit about reality and history. That's fine. But for you to paint this guy as somebody who has some sort of legitimacy is wrong answer. It can't be good. And when the actor got the the note from Khan, he was all happy, and he sent me something. My buddy I used to play chess with, after he slaughtered 10,000 people, he came home and I wanted to explore the world. I wanted money, I wanted to get out there, and what a sick story. We don't mind him exploring the world and getting out there. That's not the point. The point is when, like his buddy said, he started to acknowledge this as some sort of legitimate enterprise. Because he was basically captured, but the guy liked him, Khan. Yeah, I like him, He plays chess. But his buddy was right. He confronted him. It was a very good acting job, too. Let's shut down. As I wanted to talk about wisdom, boots on the ground, as an American, and we broaden the concept out. We're going to get to wisdom germane in my template here on the next video. All you got to do is click the next video, okay? I went way overboard because I wanted to give you some boots on the ground wisdom as to how Hollywood was unwise, how people are unwise, and how you personally, some of you young people out there, you need to be wise, boots on the ground. Before we get into this lesson, I'm going to call this Introduction to Wisdom probably, and put it online here. For you students out there, fellow students, for you students to make some headway here. I had the fan on here. I don't like the fan. I apologize. We're going to shut the fan off on the next video. I'm supposed to cut the fan off. I got so pumped up and so cool here at the same time. As we get into wisdom, which is obviously a big issue here for we Christian people. I'm giving you some broad strokes here as we bounce around wisdom all over the place, even in Hollywood, and these actors who portrayed these images. It goes to show that they're probably not saved. I think those actresses, the head guy, Tyrone there, I think he was a Catholic, and I don't think he was saved, but he was a nice guy. But he wasn't a very intelligent guy per se, and he wasn't a very wise guy. Otherwise, he would not have played that role. The gentleman who was his friend, who rejected this whole notion of being buddy-buddy with Khan, he had the right idea. And that's what we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be wise, and when we see things that are improper, we reject it. Once again, it's okay for you to want to explore the world and kind of make mistakes. But as far as you grabbing the gutter and clinging to the gutter, that's a whole different story. And what makes this kind of unwise behavior sad is that he came from a Protestant environment. Protestant/Catholic environment. Because Protestantism and Catholicism have pretty much throughout history, they've always been side by side because that's what God wants. He wants people to have an option to true Christianity and loving God or a fake world. He wants to give humans that option to go into the fake world, Babylon, or to go to the real Protestant world. Which is taking the simple Torah and the law of God and the commandments of Jesus and sticking with it. I don't have time to make a point. I'll do that next time around. I wanted to show you what happens in Indiana here and give you a lesson on wisdom. And we're going to use the corn stalks as a lesson. Because I've lived in Indiana for a while. Both of my parents, my mother was raised here in Indiana, and my dad spent a lot of time here, which is not far from Kentucky. He went north, and I guess he went to Indianapolis. I'm pretty sure. And both of my parents are from this state, and I moved from California, where I lived most of my life, and I moved here for a couple of reasons. I like the people here a lot pertaining to Quakerism here. I like the phenomenon of people who dress properly, who greet you properly, who speak good English per se, and who are respective of the flag, and so on. I like the people here. As opposed to California. I like the nature here. I don't like winter here at all. I'll never get used to winter here. It's just something my parents got used to, and they're tougher than I am. I got a little bit of a wimp in me, a complainer. My earth father and earth mother here, or my mother, they very seldom complained, especially when I was young. I never heard my dad complain ever. No matter how hot, no matter how cold, no matter how poor, no matter how rich, he was a rock. He was like Cochise in New Mexico. He, a man's man. I don't know if he could shoot an arrow as good as Cochise. Cochise was known for being able to shoot an arrow accurate from any distance, like William Tell. Let's shut down. Because I got a little bit of complaining in me. I'm a little too cold or whatever. The temperature go at 100 degrees, 110, and my dad would look at you. He wouldn't complain about it at all. He would just sit there. He would sit there and think. I'm the kind of person, well, I might think a little bit, but I might start complaining. That's just, I think, I have a weaker character or something. I don't know how to put it. I guess that's in stone or something. I'll never become a real man kind of here. I'll always be a little bit of a complainer, But even to the point of complaining about things before they even happen, or after they've happened. I never heard my earth father complain about one bill. Never. I never heard him complain about bills, cars, politicians, nothing. When he got older, I think I heard a few items, but when my dad was young and we were growing up, I never heard a complaint about anything. Very unusual. I go to my neighbor's house, they were complaining, white people are doing this, and, or something like that, or the economy, or let's fix rich people, the fat cats, or, let's get guns with Huey P. Newton, or the Muslims are calling white people white pigs from England or something in their black Muslim paper, and the hippies are saying take drugs and complaining about the system, or everybody had their little old world they were living in. But I was happy to be fostered and trained by somebody who says, shut your mouth, deal with the real world, and enjoy it, and be quiet. That's what I learned the most. Also, I learned wisdom in terms of people having an opinion. When people say something on TV, a computer, a scientist, my dad basically taught me that that's their opinion, even though they're a scientist, even though they're a teacher, that's their opinion. You don't have to necessarily agree with it. That's a big thing I learned that most people don't know. They don't have that wisdom. When you hear something, you go, it must be the truth. Oh, Einstein said this, Oh, that movie has people flying around in outer space. Therefore, there must be outer space, there's aliens, or there must be aliens, or whatever people say, whatever they show you. They told me the Earth spins 1,000 plus miles an hour. I never believed it. And I tell people, I believe what I want to believe. It's called America, where it's supposed to be a free country, and you're supposed to think the way you kind of want to think. As long as you're not breaking the Constitution, you can think any way you want to think. Some people are very intelligent people, or wise people, and they start going off in areas they shouldn't go into. I was listening to Tesla here the other day, a very interesting man whose father told him to be a preacher, and he didn't listen. He probably should have listened to his dad. That's what I think. All of his inventions ended up being scrubbed anyway, just about. So, and he liked to talk about religion sometimes. You know, he started going off on, you know, the spiritual world. I'm Tesla. Let me teach you about the spiritual world. Dude, you need to freeze your lips, because you're talking about something you don't know anything about, and because you're very good at engineering, magnetic fields. Okay, dude, you need to freeze on God and teaching the Bible, because you sound like a fool. We're going to shut down. We even have a shaky image. I apologize for that. That's okay. We're here to listen anyway. Maranatha, a little wisdom, boots on the ground for you here. As recently I decided to teach a little bit more to you young people, because a lot of young people who view we have Sunday school here. This is pretty much for the main sanctuary, as you know, but we have Sunday school lesson work here. And we've had a lot of young people committing suicide out here in the United States, and with a lot of drug use. And so we've been targeting a lot of young people to be strong and to not give in to peer pressure, and to be the Christian Quaker and stay home and go to bed and be happy with the bed. That's more wisdom, boots on the ground. You don't need to go to a party. You need to go anywhere. You need to put on fancy clothes. You put on your overalls like the Quakers do. Go to work and go to bed. You don't need social media. You don't need romance before marriage. You don't need drugs or alcohol. You don't need to curse to impress anybody. You don't need to do this to be an adult. You don't have to have short hair, long hair, whatever. You just take care of your parents and stay home, and forget about driving around with drunk people, unless you want to be wrapped around a telephone pole. Just stay home and be smart. Become a librarian, read your Bible, and that's what you'll do. The Bible says that God will withhold no good thing from him who walketh uprightly. The devil tells people in these movies, especially in the 80s, these comedians coming on TV saying, we need to have a little bit of wild time here. Woo! You young people, even the children, let's have a wild time. Yeah, no rules. Let's talk about adult themes. These are trashy comedians. They're trash. I'll tell them to their face they're trash. I won't go looking for them, but if I see them and I've identified that they're trash, I'll tell them, you know what? You telling children that to explore drugs or whatever, you know what you are? You're trash. Want me to spell it for you? I'm not afraid of you either, whoever you are. How much money you have, or what army you have. Your army is not as big as my army. I'm done. People saying that too much discipline is no good. I've never heard anything more nonsensical in my life. It's very difficult to have too much discipline. It's hard to get there. We have people that have been retired, like Pastor Thomas, who was semi-retired. We've had other people working 2 jobs kind of here and staying busy for hour after hour after hour. And that's the best environment to be in. I'm not talking about working all the time or making people work or whatever. No, that's not the point. The point is that voluntarily hard work, by you choosing to work hard, it's the only way to go. As an ex-instructor of K through 12 in the United States of America, of the compulsory education system, which I think was established by Lincoln, I forgot, mandatory school under 18, I've been involved in teaching various subjects. I know how it is to have too much discipline. Some of these schools I was involved with, they had the students doing far too much work. They have to be children. They have to go play a little. Okay, students, you have 4 hours of homework tonight, and for those of you who are slow readers, it's going to be 6 for you tonight or something. That's nonsense. That's too much discipline. That's too much work. All things in moderation. That's wisdom. I'm done with my wisdom lesson introduction for 2024 today, which is bouncing around a little. And I don't mind doing a little apostolic teaching right now, which basically means, for those of you familiar with going to an apostolic church, I went to one a couple of years ago, and the preacher just goes, he just goes. They don't have, like what I have here, a playlist or a structure, That's the way my dad taught. He didn't like that. He called it being open to the Spirit and so forth. I think you can have structure and still be open to the Spirit. So that's where I'm not walking in the shoes of my Papa San. Jeremiah's done. We're very happy with the progress we have here as we have a little loosey-goosey wisdom lesson for an introduction for 2024, okay? Very deep in an hour. I want half-hour lessons, but a lot of things going on with the youth right now, and this drug problem in America, and people die. I mean, do you know how many young people have died here recently in America? You have any idea? A lot of young people. We're talking coroners and graveyards. These mortuaries are getting a lot of business, and it's horrible. So I'm spending a little bit more time than I usually do when I get into wisdom and some of these Bible studies, because we're taking out time to not just talk to the adults pretty much most of the time here, because the gospel is basically for adults, which is what we focus on here most of the time. However, it's not going to hurt young people to get a lot of this, especially when we get to wisdom, what we're talking about right now. Boots on the ground, making good decisions. I was going to give you a little bit more of what the template is here, but we've run out of time. I apologize. I said I was going to give you a little bit of the template, but we're going to let that go. My template's right here. As all of you know, almost every lesson has a template and is digitalized. Almost everything in this ministry is digitalized, and it will be digitalized. I like digitalizing everything, basically. Well, the word is Maranatha from Paul the Apostle, which means the Lord is coming. And Paul says right there in Corinthians, he that doesn't love the Lord, cut them off. And even go some of you young people out there, you youth out there. If you see that people really don't necessarily love the Lord, you have the right, and the Lord's probably going to lead you to cut them off. That's called wisdom, and we've been hammering that home quite a bit here, because we're getting a lot of young people who are watching a Grand Theft Auto where you get points for running over a prostitute or something. We won't go into that, but we never had any of this garbage for young people in America. I never saw any of this stuff. I can turn on 10 horror movie channels here on this computer, and they're ripping humans apart slowly with screaming. I never saw any of that. That means that hell is blowing up right now. That's why Paul told Timothy, in the last days there will be perilous times, because God's going to allow the demons and the situation to get worse. Really bad. As an older gentleman of the United States of America, I know somewhat of what we call the golden years here, where gas was 20 cents a gallon. People who owned gas didn't make that much money. couldn't turn my TV on and see humans destroy humans. I couldn't see any of that. I couldn't see homosexuals flash across the screen. I never saw really any of that, hardly at all. Like 99.9, I think we never saw it. That's it. Maranatha means the Lord is coming. And all we talk about here most of the time, we talk about it half of the time or whatever, we spend a lot of time, it's the best way to put it, just sitting here thinking about being with Jesus Christ. When the Lord comes, that we are out of here, and we're not here during the 7-year tribulation period, which is the hour that the Master said, He'll keep you from the hour. That's what we want. The children are basically kept from the hour. There are no children in the tribulation period. None. The Bible says specifically, men. Men, high and small rank. Men and women are running around here, adults, who didn't take the love of Jesus Christ in their heart. The love of Jesus Christ. The desire to please Jesus Christ. By becoming a caring person and teaching the truth and embracing reality. So you get the 7-year tribulation period. Those out there who are left. They have movies here in the United States called Left Behind and all of that. Well, they're right about that. I wouldn't watch the movies. I'm not into movies too much. I don't like Christian movies very much. I like to read my Bible and have Bible study. That's what I want. I watch war movies. I enjoyed the Norway movie here last night before last. How Norway fought off the Germans. The Norwegians in 1940 and 1941 and so forth, they were very nice, predominantly Christian people. I don't know about now. I don't think so. All this Darwinism and Freudism and this trash has infiltrated the world, unfortunately. With Muslimhood and murder and the Quran, and Allah said, slaughter them, put a sword in your hand, which is the emblem of Muslimhood, is a sword. So the world's gone pretty bad, that's the point. But in 1940, the pastor or the bishop in Norway, everybody went to church basically, in case you didn't know that. When the Germans came, they didn't attack the Germans right away. They couldn't believe it. They thought they believed in God, and they thought that God would protect them and not allow them to go through any big tribulation. So they were in kind of shock. And they were not quick to attack the Germans. Because these people basically were Christians and had love in their heart, and they know that we don't quickly attack people. We assess them, and we try to help people who have psychological problems. That's what we do here. The end of Matthew chapter 5. That's wisdom, is for you to be slow to anger. I don't want to pay anybody back right away. I don't want to hold a grudge. The middle of the 10 Commandments, Exodus 20. I don't want to quickly respond as a reactionary, emotional person. And the Normans, the people of Norway, they did a very good job all the way around, as far as I know, from the documentaries and so forth, and even some docudramas, whereby that they tried to communicate with these people. They were patient with them. They asked them, "Why are you doing this?" and so forth. Why are you lying to us? You called us blonde-haired brothers of the Aryan race, and we are your brothers racially as Vikings and so forth, and so forth. Why are you killing us and slaughtering us and taking our food and torturing us and doing other things we won't mention, imponderables, but why are you doing this? They eventually fought back and they won the war. London came and helped them, and then of course we came, our brave boys, and we put a hurting on the entire army and shut them down with the Russians. We shut them down. We shut these murdering, slaughtering rats, we shut them down. Unfortunately, we had to bomb a lot of innocent people, especially in Germany. Very unfortunate. A lot of people in Germany, they were not murderers and they didn't want to murder anybody, especially the children. But we had to bomb a lot of children in order to get to these rats and take them out the game. It's very sad. We're not going to go into that right now, but you might say that Putin is doing the same thing. I think that Putin is doing the same thing that we did, and the cameras of America put the images on the Ukrainians being bombed, but actually it was very similar to putting the camera on the Germans who are being bombed by us. If you put a camera in Germany, let me close with this. If you put a camera in Germany and you show the children being bombed, you could raise your fist against the Allies, which are us. Because we're bombing children over there. We have to. Basically, if we were going to stop these guys. And you could have joined the Germans if you didn't know any better. Oh, they're bombing our homes. Let's get those rats. You know, that's your perspective. The same thing as my perspective probably on the Ukrainian war. That's what they did in the Ukraine. They provoked the Russians, putting missiles in their face, and they said, get the missile out of my face. And they said, no. And Putin said, okay. And now, not only are you putting missiles in our face, you're bombing and you're murdering our Russians who are living next to you in the Ukraine. So we have to defend our people, who your little Nazi army, who Zelensky's in charge of, which America acknowledged 30 years ago, that the Ukraine was the worst country in the world, or the worst country in Europe, and they wouldn't let them join NATO because they had too many crimes against humanity, and the crimes against humanity were they were wiping out Russians that lived in the country. The Nazis. We're not saying everything that Putin does is pure as snow. What we're saying is that life can be complicated. And you need wisdom and you need knowledge to come to your conclusions that are intelligent. That's the point. A lot of people were very angry with themselves because they had to bomb the children of Germany in order to get to Hitler. But that's what Hitler did. He knew that he was going to probably wipe out his own people, but he said that he liked murder, so he's murdering his own people. Some people just like violence, and that's kind of the way it is. That's my perspective on a lot of people, that they really get a sensual joy out of hurting people, and that's just the way that it's very unfortunate. We're not going to get into that right now. This is an all-ages ministry, but my point is that some people like to hurt people. It's very sad. Hitler said he was very proud to be a barbarian. That's what he wanted to be. He said it on numerous occasions that he wanted to be a barbarian. And he wouldn't be happy unless he was one. So that means he's unwise to select something to enjoy that's going to put him downstairs in fire. He's unwise. He should have found something to enjoy that was pure. I'm enjoying right now, pleasing the Lord, teaching the Bible. That's basically pure. So that means I might be adopted by Mr. Pure. Jeremiah's shutting down. It's been a long day. I'm not going to get personal here, but we're workmen here. You know, I've got more work to do, and it's gotten late. But let me exhort some of you out there, even some of you children out there. You know, I mentioned school is that they're really adding too much here in the United States. I think it's. By the way, I'm not saying the system is totally broke. I used to work in the system. I'm just saying that some of you students out there, just hang in there. Some of you young students out there, you young people. You never know what you're going to get in college. I had a fellow student, let's talk to you students before I shut down. You know, when I was going to school, I had a lady in my class, and this is a class where you're preparing to go for a PhD. You're in your latter classes of a master's degree, and you're getting ready for your PhD work. I had a lady in my class, very nice lady. She was attending 2 universities, the California University and the UCLA California University. And I never knew anyone that was attending 2 universities before. And she told me she was doing that, in a special class or something, because you can request to the dean or the chair of a department to be added under certain circumstances. I had a very good Japanese friend, Aiko, and she was a very lovely, very talented artist. She transferred to UCLA, and she wasn't supposed to transfer because she didn't have 2 languages. You have to be fluent in 2 languages or prove some sort of proficiency in 2 languages, unless you get a scholarship. If you're an athlete and you get a scholarship, you don't have to have a second language if my memory is correct. Other than that, you have to know 2 languages. They let her into the department for a bachelor's degree. To finish up her bachelor's degree, they let her in. But having too much work, and some of you young people, you need to hang in there and remember, Einstein flunked math as a freshman, so he didn't flunk because he got the wrong problem. He didn't write the problem right. He wanted to use his imagination, which he's famous for. Einstein did not put the problem down properly. The teacher told him, the professor, to put the problem down the way I told you to put it down. He tried to write some new formula, but to come up with the right answer. That's what he kept doing, and it got him in trouble in the class. He got a D in the class. Now back then, if you got a D, you didn't have to repeat a class. You had to get an F, if my memory is correct, in order to have to repeat a class or just drop out. You couldn't go any further. So that means Einstein flunked math. Now, it was more of a rebellion than it was understanding the material, but the bottom line is he didn't do what he was told, and he got a D. And you young people out there, most of you are going to probably be Quakers out there in general, Protestants and so forth. You can hang in there when there's too much work or you're not doing it necessarily very well. Some of the best people in the real world didn't do that well in certain school conditions. And probably the best example of that is, guess who? As I close. What's one of the best examples of somebody who didn't do very well in school, who absolutely took the world by the horns? Who is that person? William Halsey, Admiral William Halsey of the United States Armed Services. He was a C student, I think, at West Point. He didn't graduate that high at all. I think he did very well in sports. He was a good athlete. But he ended up taking over World War II, almost by himself. He got back Wake Island. He took over another island that was under control of Japanese. Then he's the first person to successfully wipe out Tokyo factories Then he outnumbered 10-1 at Guadalcanal. He took out Yamamoto, whatever his name was. He took him out. Outnumbered 10-1. It may have been 10-1. I forgot what the odds were when he took over. They were about ready to surrender. The Marines there on Guadalcanal. He shows up with only a few ships and wins the day. Takes the canal, wipes out their leader, what's his name, Yamamoto, who was, and some of his men were laughing because they had the island surrounded basically, and the war and that battle was basically over. So America sent Halsey over there, and big bang snap, they won. They won the day, outnumbered 10-1. We're not giving him the glory. We're giving God the glory as an American, but he used his mind, and we say thank you. That's the point. It's okay to thank people and to be thankful for people as Christians. We just can't worship you. We can't boast about you. I'm talking about education right now, and how a lot of you out there, you need to see yourself as a contributor, just like Halsey did, because he knew he was a C student, but when he got out there playing chess, in the real world, he was the master chess player. He's one of the best strategists to ever live in the United States for our country here, without a doubt. There was one point in the battle of shutdown of the Guadalcanal where they were outnumbered. All the men said, we're surrounded, we give up. Halsey said, no, we're not giving up. I have a strategy here. And they said, well, you don't need us. He said, yes, I do. I listen to all of you. Okay? I listen to all of you, no matter what your personality is. Wisdom amongst many counselors, Solomon would say. And he listened to all their advice, and he said, what we're going to do is we're going to basically make a sacrifice move. I know their strategy and how they work most of the time. And I have a plan. Yes, most of you are going to die who have a ship. And so he called in 3 of his generals. And he basically said, you guys are dead. But you're going to create a stalemate for us, and you're going to get us back to even ground. And the 3 men said, send us, let's go. They knew they were basically dead. He knew they were basically dead. But they were going to fight like, we don't want to say hell, but they were going to fight down to the last man, and they were going to create a stalemate, which is exactly what they did. Real men in the history of the United States. I'm very patriotic. Some of you think that since I'm not part of the MAGA crowd or something, we're not patriotic here. That's nonsense. It's just that we know how to handle politics and look for Jesus to come and still appreciate soldiers and so forth. We still have a lot of respect for the dignitaries and politicians here, even though we don't necessarily participate. We don't have a protocol for participation, but it doesn't mean we don't care about them, and we want them to do the best that they can do, and thank them if we see them personally. Thank you, sir, for prioritizing your intelligence and honesty. There's nothing wrong with that. If we Americans, we met Halsey in person, we might want to shake his hand and say, thank you, sir. Thank God for you, because you used your head, and you were brave, and you saved thousands of lives, and as far as humans go, and children and whatever, we do that here. I'm not just a spiritual person 100% of the time, but there's only heaven to think about. We don't do that here. Just because we don't spend any time or talk about the MAGA crowd or whatever, then we don't appreciate them. and we don't appreciate people who want to make America better and who care about America or something, and the citizens here. We just have a different kind of care. Our care is to preach the gospel and to personally serve people on a personal basis. MAGA crowd people are people in general who are thinking about serving. We get out there and we serve here. They talk about going to people's homes and doing things legally and stuff. Well, that's what we do, boots on the ground here. Now, they may very well be good Christian people who practice righteousness, and a lot of them probably do. But we're kind of too busy doing it and not talking about it. That's what the church is supposed to do. You know, we're here to go across the street and help Sister So-and-so, and that's what we do and go to bed. As far as getting together and talking about it, we don't do that very much. We just do it and go to bed. We have no fanfare. We have no acknowledgement of this politician did that, and so forth. We don't clap for anybody. We just go over and go to church. We preach eternal life and forgiveness, and brother so-and-so needs help. We go over his house. We paint the church, and we go to bed. We clean the toilets, and we go to bed. That's what we do. We don't have any acknowledging factors at all here. We're boots on the ground people who cut this corn down here on this image, and that's what we are. The women here don't talk about being chaste women and classy women. They live it. A lot of people at the MAGA meetings or political meetings, they talk about being classy people, but they may not be classy people. A lot of them don't look very classy. They're baby Christians, and a lot of them are pretty much confused. They're not dressed properly. It doesn't mean they're not saved. It doesn't mean they don't love Jesus. It means that they're having some problems about prioritizing themselves properly as a mature Christian. Because first of all, you would dress properly. Second of all, you wouldn't leave church duties alone. Those are two big issues here. Now, don't talk about making America great. Go to Sister So-and-so's house. Quit yelling and screaming in a group. Forget about the group. You don't need a group to go help Sister So-and-so. I don't need a group meeting. I don't need women who wear boys' hats and have too much makeup on and they're not dressed properly, and the men are wearing tank tops flexing muscles at a Republican convention. We don't need all of that fanfare. A lot of it is flesh. I don't want to talk about making America great again in general. I want to go make America great. A lot of people there are not actively serving the Lord Jesus Christ and doing what they say that they want to make America great again. Unfortunately, there's a lot of chin music going on. Yeah, we're going to make America great again. Well, then why aren't you doing it is the question. You know, there's other fanfare going on, but no one's going over to brother so-and-so's house. The elderly are left alone, and you're screaming at a meeting. You know, brother so-and-so's 80 years old, no one's going to visit him, but you're yelling and screaming at a meeting. Woo-hoo! You know. Forget the meeting. Just go help so-and-so who's 80 years old. We don't need a meeting. By the way, I'm not saying that meetings are bad and all bad. No, I'm not. A lot of very nice people who are very immature Christians there. They're not dressed properly. The women have makeup on, boys' hats. The men they're not dressed properly and so forth. And they're basically wandering stars, you know, just wandering around. I know a little bit of truth about Jesus Christ, but I'm wandering around here. Whee! No, the only protocol we have here that's mandatory in the church is actually making America great again. Not talking about it. Going to church and doing the deeds that do indeed make America great again. I don't need a meeting to do that. Only thing I need is a church meeting to find out who needs help. One more thing on these meetings as I shut down. The reason why these videos are getting long is because there's a lot going on right now, and I'm addressing a few issues before I shut down for the year. Many of you have noticed that we're starting to shut down here. I don't have videos every day anymore. We're shutting down. But I want to make a last point. One of the reasons why the MAGA meetings and Republicanism has become more legitimized. In other words, in general, we Protestants, we go to church and we make America great by our own lifestyle. We don't need to have a meeting as to make America great. We're going to do it boots on the ground, saving souls and helping people personally. The Beatitudes of Matthew chapter 5, boots on the ground. That's all we need. Now, to justify a little bit these meetings is the leaders and the people in charge who you give money to have gotten much worse than they've ever been with your money. Starting wars, not seeking peace with Putin, blowing up the pipeline, destroying the ecosystem, which I think this Department of Justice did. I'm pretty sure they're the ones who destroyed the ecosystem of the North Sea so the people in Norway can't eat the fish. My point is a lot's going on, and it's very deep. See, that's the point. And they have a right to be upset. Fox News, they have a right to be upset. We understand that. It's just that we go about fixing it a different way. We have a lot of prayer going on here to knock these mountains down. You get the point? America's had infanticide, but it's never had infanticide after the child is born and so forth. We won't go into that. This is an all-ages ministry. But that's in California now legal, in case you didn't know that. California is basically turning into a satanic state heavy. You can marry trees, you can marry animals, homosexuals are getting extra paychecks from the government for rent. Okay, yeah, you want me to keep going? And so I'm along with a lot of these Fox News people and MAGA people being upset. They have a right to be upset. However, don't forget, we handle it in church in general. We go to church, we mention what's going on, and we pray that these mountains be removed and cast into the sea. That's what we do. We overcome evil by doing good, not talking about how evil is, which is what they do a lot. That's evil over there. That's evil over there. No, you just keep doing good. You'll overcome evil. Maranatha, one more time. This has been a long video, but I'm going to shut down. Very unusual, but we do this every now and then because we're on fire. There's a lot going on in the church right now. Okay? These are complicated times, not just perilous times. And I'm very happy to see that I've done a lot of addressing of these deep issues, and I'm very happy to say that I'm going to shut down on 80% of this ministry is going to get shut down. I'm going to have time more for music, enjoying music and chords and strings, and I have my own strings. I just got some new strings on this computer. They're not as good as the last ones I had. They were supposed to be an improvement, but they're not. It could be I need to tweak them a little bit with the sound effects and so forth, but I like the strings I had before, which were supposed to be inferior or something. But let's not complain. I'm going to use those strings, and I'm very happy to say that I'm going to get into a lot of music, and we're going to start having more fellowship. I'm going to have to get more church fellowship instead of having Bible studies almost every night. Hanging out with the brethren, having some coffee, and this ministry is basically shutting down. I will have 1 or 2 nights a week where I use these cameras and so forth. That's my swan song. My coup, what do they say in France? The coup de grace. That's your last performance. The last thing you enjoy on the earth, you know. They say we see the world through rose-colored glasses. A famous saying in France, which is, what is that? Something rose or something. Anyway, Jeremiah, this is a long video because you're shutting down. Yes, I sense a closing down of a lot of work with Bible study and scriptures, and we're making them nice and fat right now as we get ready to get into a lot of short things. And it's kind of sad because I really enjoy long videos. I really enjoy an apostolic, multi-subject, 2 hours, hour and a half of study, or an hour. I really enjoy it because you really get a chance to go over a lot of the honey and the beautiful table of soul food of a Thanksgiving dinner. You know, you bounce around and enjoy, taste and see that the Lord, He is good, and all these different chapters or books in your Bible. But I'm gonna make this kind of a librarian thing here pretty soon, and I'm going in that direction. But I'm not going to share it with you anymore. I'm talking too much about where we're going, and we don't need to do that too much. Okay? Maranatha, cast all your cares upon Him, for with Him there is much care for you. The book of Numbers 6:24. The Lord bless you and keep you and make His face to shine upon you. Okay? That's all. Maranatha, shalom.